Alright, here I'm going to show there's quite an assortment of different axes here, and I just want to show how, how I identify them and the similarities between them. And so we'll start with this one here, which is made out of volcanic rock, slate, and what it is you can see how they have knocked these pieces out to help form it, to bring it into the sharp edge here. On this side you can see it's pretty much a uniface, except right in here it looks like they have there's a percussion point right in here that they have just knocked this piece out, and then you can see the residue on it. I can show the residue there. To me, it looks a little bit like they used something to haft this on, and that would be something glue or something. The interesting thing about this, it's been notched here, but after they've knocked it out, then you can see the grinding here. It's evident, but to grind it down into this sharp edge. I mean, in some ways, if I push my finger on that too hard, it would cut it. It's that sharp. But anyway, it's pretty interesting to see how they made this. This here notch is very similar to others, and it's been ground around. You can see there to where it's smooth and not sharp edges up into that. And so anyway, that's pretty interesting. Here's one made out of the same type of rock. It's very similar in the way it's been made, and the way you can tell that it's been ground into this point. Again, pretty much uniface. Pretty much nothing's been worked on this side, and on this side you can see how it's been ground down into this edge. The edge is a little rough, but it was sharp. And then you can see in here where they've knocked this out, and you can see tool marks, if you look real careful, right along in here where they've worked that. And this one you can see the percussion mark there, but I do also like they scored it or something here so that when they hit it, it would break off like that. Anyway, pretty interesting piece here. Here we got what is an adze, and the way you tell it's an adze is because of, you see how it's come into a dull edge. Now these were most likely used to work stone, and so then, and you see how they bring it back into a point here. Well, that was to shaft it like that, and they'd use it like a hoe like that. And but the thing you can see here again on this side, it's been worked down, ground down into a dull edge, in which they wouldn't have wanted it to be sharp because it was used on stone. You can feel the roughness of the edge here where it's been used. That's an adze. Here's another one. You can see how, first of all, it's brought down, ground down on this side, ground down, and you see into a dull edge in which they would have used this, and then it's worked back, ground back in this way to where it's a dull point, and then that would fit in a shaft like that, and used like that, like a hoe. Here's a really nice piece here. You can see the coloring in here, and here you can see the coloring in there, residue of where they, as far as I can tell, it was hafted. And then used, you know, brought down into a dull edge. The neat thing I like about this, it's really finely done, but it's been done through pecking and grinding. You can still see the pecking marks in it, in which they would use a rock and rough up the surface and then grind it down until it ground down into the edge that they wanted. Nice little piece there. Similar here, but this one here would be handheld. And the way that you can tell that is these little notches in here are to where your finger or thumb will fit, and it fits real comfortable. And then always on the hand axe, handheld ones, the back end is always tapered a little bit so it fits your hand the right way, and then so that, you know, it has a nice comfortable fit, and then you can just use it. And but you can see also how they've brought this to an edge. It's not quite the same as the other one, but you can see the grinding marks, the pecking marks, and then the grinding and how they brought it down. Like there, you can see how they've worked it to bring it down. Same with this one here. You can see how they've kind of wedged it in or ground it down and used pecking and grinding. You can see some pecking marks on it. And then they probably hafted this one. And the same here. This one's much like this one. Most likely, I think it would be handheld, just because of the angle there that would make it a little more comfortable to use the edge. And most likely, like a pecking stone used to break rock or whatever, that would be my guess. Here's a really neat little piece that you pretty much uniface, where this is the other side of the rock, the natural side of the rock, and this side was been worked. And you can see how they've ground it down until it came into a, you know, maybe at one time that was probably a pretty sharp point there, but nonetheless they use that as an axe. This is a really neat one that I've already shown on one of my videos. What I love about this one is it looks really crude. It's a wedge axe, but this here little pocket here, and then you can see the little ground out area here, how this has been smoothed, and how even little things like that, how you can grab this thing, the palm of your thumb fits perfectly right in there, and then the palm of your fingers fit perfect over that. It's really comfortable to be used as a hand axe. This one here looks like an Adze. I don't know. What I like about this one is that you can see the use that it had. You can see where they've used it. All the way around here, you can see the heavy use that they've had on it. And the other thing is that on this end also, it's roughed up. So they used this end also. Almost, you know, like a hammerstone. But really, really a nice little piece. And then here's a good wedge axe. You can see how they've just pretty much broke it down. And this, I think, is broken out. But it's really sharp, pretty sharp. And nice little piece. And then we've got these over here. You can, how they've come down to a wedge. This one I would think would be hafted, but you know, it's notched and it feels really good. You can see where it's been really rough use on it here. I wouldn't know, but just from my experience, that would be a handheld. Same as this one here, I would think would be handheld, but you know, I don't know sometimes on these. But you can see also where it's been worked down into this crude edge here, and then this up here, you can see how that's been worked off, but that's usually what they do so you can fit this in your hand, and so it fits real comfortable in your hand. But here's an interesting piece made out of this hard green rock. I don't know. It's not quartz, but I don't know what kind of rock it is. It's hard green rock. But anyway, pretty interesting little piece, probably just used as an axe. You can tell on this end where you can see where it's been broken, used on hard edges, and I would suppose this one the same way. You can also see that's been used there, and they could have used this to help break rock as a pecking stone. I mean, that's pretty long, but I've seen where they've used these like this, similar shape, in the research I've done. Anyway, there's a what I had here, and I'd like to show everybody, and hope you enjoy it. Thanks.